buried with demonstrative male or female grave goods?
Very interesting question about Helen Gilbert as Astor's, the burial pot. Why was it placed near the head? Why would things be buried in this particular part of the grave?
I wish I knew. I mean, undeniably, there's this space here, as there's also space down by the feet, and that's the other place that vessels are found. So graves they don't tend to be dug any bigger than they need to be. But is there a difference between a vessel by the feet and a vessel by the head? I don't know. I don't know if anybody's done that kind of work. I mean, there's an infinite number of questions that you can ask, and most about early Anglo-Saxon burials, and most of the answers will be, that's not an interesting question in the end. But you can't tell if it's an interesting question until you've got the answer. So the answer is, I don't know. It may be something to do with the fact of the space. It may be something to do with the fact that as it's food or drink, that's where you consume food or drink. But if it's not food or drink, if it's something like ointment or something else, textile, then you could put it down by the feet, maybe.
I remember one of the most extraordinary burials we ever dug on Time Team was a Roman soldier in a Christian directed grave, an east-west grave, and his head had been turned over to look at a plaque, and Phil gradually excavated the plaque down, and written on the plaque was Viridius, a Roman god. And so it looked like he'd been buried as a Christian, but he decided to hedge his bets, and his skull was deliberately turned. And I just wonder if that head place is important. It's where the eyes are, it's where you can see the objects, and maybe even though the person is no longer with us, there's a charm to placing the objects where they could sort of see them near the head and the eyes, and maybe that has something to do with it as well.
Yes, definitely. The placing of a person does seem to be important, but you have to add in a couple of other things. If there's a coffin, then you've got a space, and so as the structures of the body decay, if you've got a space around the head, it can tip to the side, not because of anything deliberate. But the other thing, I don't want to rain on your parade, Tim, but an east-west orientation for a grave isn't always just Christian. Christianity is not the only religion that is interested in the sun going across the sky. And there's plenty of east-west or west-east pagan Anglo-Saxon burials. They have to be pagan because of the date. And you can't read too much into it. It's just a thing. Everybody likes to be buried somewhere where they're facing the rising sun.
I've got a question from a gentleman, I assume it's a gentleman called RoboCop Extraordinaire. The garden area, was it ever further excavated over the years?
Well, it wasn't by us, so I don't know if anybody else has.
I don't think so.
No, Paul Blinkhorn's got such good contacts around Northamptonshire, I think we would know. But the amazing thing about that garden was when the programme started, I thought, gosh, I don't recognise that garden at all. My memory's awful.